When you first log into Webmaster Tools, you will see the following screen here, which is the site dashboard. Within the site dashboard, you immediately see if there's any crawl errors with your site, which means that for some reason Google has difficulty in getting through the website to crawl it. You'll also then get a quick link through to search queries, which we'll see in a moment, and you can also see if there's any issues with any sitemaps that you've submitted to Google at this stage. So just having a quick look through the Webmaster Tool navigation menu, to the left hand side here you'll see search appearance, and within search appearance there are a number of different features associated with it. First one, just to mention to you, is a section called structured data. Now this tends to really only be used if you have something called rich snippets within your website, which actually has to be coded by a web developer, so don't worry if that's not there. The data highlighter, now this tool can be quite useful. You can actually physically highlight data yourself, and what this means is it actually allows you to indicate sections of your website are related to certain things. For example, and one of the best usages would be if you are indicating that a calendar of events, for example, you can actually highlight the dates and timings within your website structure to Google, and it can then pick that up and display that back to your end users actually within the search results. The HTML improvements section, this allows you to see how Google picks up any content issues with your website. Luckily enough, in this case there aren't any content issues in this example. However, if there was duplicate content, for example, duplicate meta titles or duplicate meta descriptions, this is a section that you would see that in. So the site links report, allows you to see which links are being used for site links. Now, site link is whenever you do a search within Google and you actually see not only your result, but you also see underneath that links through to direct category level pages or pages underneath via your website. Now, this tool doesn't actually allow you to make any changes to what site links that you can see. You can't, for example, pick that you want the events page to show. However, you can demote certain pages that you don't want to be included within a site link, so that's really the only control that you have there, and we'll go into more detail of that during your session. The search traffic reports, just as a bit of an overview, these are the reports that tend to be very useful when it comes to search engine optimization. First one is the search queries report, which I'd indicated was there in the dashboard. And this report allows you to see the number of queries, or in other words, keywords, that are sending traffic through to a particular site. And during the time range we can see here. The impressions, so that's the number of, effectively, the number of eyeballs or the number of individuals that actually see your listing, potentially. And then, of course, the number of clicks. And in this case, you can actually start to see trends, in traffic in terms of, peaks and troughs as to when people are actually searching for certain keywords. So in this case, what you can do is if you scroll on down the page, you'll start to see the actual keywords that people are searching for. You can see the number of impressions or individuals that have seen that, the number of clicks, the click-through rate, and then your average position. So there's quite a bit there. This actually allows you to then identify, for example, in this case, mini piling would be the search term. It's only at position number 11, so we would imagine that actually if we got that onto page 1 of Google, we'd get more clicks and therefore a higher click-through rate. So that's something we'd certainly look at in terms of managing that moving forward. Links to your site report then, so we know that incoming links are important for Google, so this report allows you to see which pages link into yours. The internal links report, so this allows us to see internal links, so that's what links within the actual website itself that link into certain pages across the site. And most recently, this manual actions report. Now the manual actions report, hopefully you don't actually see anything in there at all. The manual actions report was actually included within Webmaster Tools very recently, and it indicates whether or not Google is punishing you for any bad or dodgy link building or anything such like in the past. Google index reports, these effectively tell us the number of pages of your website that are actually indexed by Google. So it's important, if you obviously have a website or you're trying to grow the size of your website, that you keep an eye on that to ensure that the number of pages that are being indexed is continually going up. Content keywords report allows us to see the significance of certain keywords that are included across the content in your website. So in this case, mini piling, we've got piling, mini, company, foundations, so on and so forth. So those are all pretty relevant. A little bit of a tip here: if there is something in there that looks unusual, for example, if I saw iPhone in here as a content keyword, then I would have to look about immediately, figuring out where that was coming from, because this website would be in no way related to iPhones, and it tends to be an indication that there's a potential of your website having been hacked. But we can go through that more in your training. Remove URLs. So if you do actually have any old pages in your website that no longer exist, you want to try and get rid of those as quickly as possible, and you can do that using the URL removal tool. The crawl reports then. The crawl reports indicate what is actually happening in your website and what Google is finding whenever it's actually crawling your website. So the crawl errors report allows us to see if there's any errors with Google trying to access any individual URLs. Again, quite good because there's no errors detected. Crawl stats, they allow us to see how many pages Google are crawling. Google's crawling on our website every day, and so on. Fetch as Google is a useful tool because if you're continuously adding new pages to your website and new URLs, sometimes it can take Google a little while, depending on the size of your website, to crawl those URLs. You can actually force Google to crawl those by using the Fetch as Google tool, and we can show you how to do that. Blocked URLs then. So from time to time, you may want to block Google from crawling certain pages on your website, and if that's the case, you can actually do that using what's called a robots.txt file. Google allow us to test that file, because what it's doing is, if we show you in here, it's actually showing us where the robots.txt is and what it contains. And we can then test this to make sure, if we are wanting to block certain URLs, that the robots.txt that we've created is doing that effectively. Sitemaps report is another useful report. All websites should have a sitemap associated with it. See the number of web pages that have been submitted and the number that are indexed. Usually there would be one or two that aren't indexed. It's fine if we have similar pages, but if you have a huge amount of individual pages that haven't been indexed, that can be a bit of I suppose a bit of a warning to say that those pages are too similar to other pages that you already have indexed. This is usually actually identified in the HTML improvement section anyway. URL parameters. So in this case, this particular website doesn't use URL parameters, but this section you would use quite readily and quite a lot if your website contains question marks in the URLs. So the question marks in URLs are sometimes used by web developers, for example, to paginate a page, to allow people to search on pages and so on. But Google tends not to like URL parameters too much. However, we can tell Google the reasons for using it. So this is the section that we do that in, and just it helps us ensure that any pages that include URL parameters and we've got no control over, if we do want them to be included within Google's index, we can ask Google to do that. The last report really is one that's, again, recently been added to Webmaster Tools, and that's the security issues report. If your website has had any difficulties, if it's been hacked and so on, you will actually get an alert within this section, which is why it's so important to ensure that you keep this your Webmaster Tools report linked up to an email account that you check regularly, because this section will actually highlight to you that there is a security issue with your website, and once that is highlighted, an email is normally pinged out to the email account associated with your Webmaster Tools account. So that's a very quick overview of the Webmaster Tools account ahead of the Audiences NI training session on Webmaster Tools. Ahead of that training session, I'd like to ask everybody attending to ensure that they do have a Webmaster Tools account set up and that it is hooked up to their website. You can do that by going to www.google.com/webmasters. That's www.google.com/webmasters. and ensure that your website is actually registered for a Webmaster Tools account. It is free of charge to use that. So it is important that you do have that set up in advance so that we can actually get started with the session and go through some examples for you. So ahead of that, I'll leave this video recording with you, and I look forward to seeing you at your session.